Well, this is my little small block Chevy 305 in my 78 El Camino, and it's possible I got a bad rod bearing. I already just, about a year and a half ago, I put in the new cam lifters, what do you call it, you know, timing chain and water pump, fuel pump, starter motor. Also just about 6 months ago, put in a new flywheel, new rear springs, new clutch, pressure plate, pilot bearing. But looks like, you know, plus also the Edelbrock manifold and the Holley carburetor. But it looks like I got something wrong with the bottom end. I'm not 110% sure until you really pull it off, you know, pull off the pan. But here's my thoughts is, I don't want to start it up. It makes a noise, obviously, not from the top end. And if you give it a little gas while it's idling, say if it's idling around 800,000 RPMs, it's making a noise, knock, knock, knock. You get a little gas, it goes away. So if you're doing 1500 RPMs, 1800 RPMs, it goes away. Which tells me it might be not a spun rod bearing, but one of the halves is messed up or something on one side. That's a possibility. The oil pressure looks good, and maybe it's not a spun rod bearing too. That's another indication that it might not be, but I think it is, to tell you the truth, because what other noise comes from the bottom? It's not an exhaust noise clanging around. It's something that sounds like it's in the oil pan. So that's what it sounds like. This is not an automatic transmission, so the flex plate didn't come loose or anything like that. And yes, I did put a flywheel on there, but it's all torqued on there properly with brand new bolts in the Loctite red. So I doubt that had a problem either. But you never know. Could be something simple. But the plan of action is I have some rod bearings. I got 2 under, 1 rod bearing, 2 under, and I got one that was 10 under because this block was actually out of the car. There was something major done to this engine before I picked up this car in 1991, and it wasn't like totally rebuilt, but something was done to the short block because the block was definitely decked. The reason I know, because the little pad that's on the front of the engine over there is milled off because they milled the block flat. Because maybe it was overheated or something, I don't know what happened. And I'd imagine if they did that, well, they would have had the crank out, so they would have changed the bearings, but it's a possibility they might have reground the crank. So I got a 10 under bearing, just taking a guess that maybe they reground the crank to 10 under, but I think I'm going to try to get away with polishing if it's a bad bearing, the journal is going to get chewed up, and I'm going to try to polish it out by hand using a shoestring method and the emery cloth with 400 and 800 and 1000 grit sandpaper, and polish it out hopefully and put a 2 under bearing on it. And then if that noise goes away and it specs out pretty good, you know, if it specs out under 4,000 clearance, I'll take it out again and I'll put I'll take the pan down again. I'll put all new bearings in, including the main bearings and a new main bearing seal, and hopefully that holds together. That'll be a cheap way, because I have a reusable pan gasket here, so I can take that thing off. It's got new bolts in it. It's a little more money, but it's actually cheaper if you got to take the oil pan off a couple times. And I got a lot of 1040 Rotella diesel oil I got on sale, which has the high zinc additive too. So, you know, I could try it out, see if it works. If it don't work, the plan of action is going to go to a 350 from Rock Auto. Now, hopefully our engines are okay. They got the cheapest engines. I would keep this engine because the core is only worth $260. Plus, I'd be getting a 350 versus a 305, and I'm not even sure how they would do that. They might give me a hard time getting the money back for the core anyway. I'm going to change my VIN number by 1 letter to make it look like I have a 350 in here originally. So this way they just give me the product. It's $1,700 delivered, less a 5% discount, so maybe $1,630 or something like that. The whole shebang with the valve covers, the oil pan, the whole 9 yards. I'd be able to reuse. Maybe I'd have to get flywheel bolts, but I could probably reuse them because they're brand new, and I just have to heat them up to get them off and then put them on again with Loctite red. This has got the same exact exhaust manifolds, 305 to 350. The difference is the Y pipe, but I'll leave the other Y pipe in here. It don't matter. It's not going to make much of a difference if I do that. I'm hoping I can get away with just the bearings, but it depends. I can't start this until I finish other projects, and this being broken is I had to go work on. I don't want to start that up because, you know, if there's damage, you know, theoretically, if it's got noise, it already needs a crank. But then again, who knows? I was putting new lights on this thing, new wiring. Got it real cheap. I put a little bit bigger size tires on it. This is just a small utility trailer. It holds 1,180 pounds. And then if you add the wood, it might be 1150, 1100. But I added these bigger tires. They're a little wider. They fit. I just had to raise the fenders up. I still just got to actually connect the wires in to the lights, but you know, they're done. So I was messing around with this. There was rusty bolts and stuff, but you know, I got them all loose without busting the bolts and stuff, and I got to drill new holes to get that fender mounted. It's up high enough, so I can use this trailer with the little 4x4 here to get the cannon barrel, because I was planning on getting a cannon barrel with that El Camino, and I said, nope, that ain't gonna work. I still got to put the special adapter that adapts from, you know, it's got the amber turn signals. You got to adapt that to the kind that has just a red light for the stop and the turn signals. There's an adapter I got to put on there. I mean, it's not hard to do. It just takes time. Like doing that trailer took more time than I thought because of rusty bolts. That's, you know, and that's the thing. If you're dealing with a brand new car, which never needs work pretty much anyway, it's all clean. There's no rusty bolts. There's nothing that can snap off, and you know, it's simple things can get very difficult with older stuff. That's the problem sometimes. But you know, this should be pretty straightforward putting that on here, and I'm almost done with it. Tomorrow I got some stuff I got to do, so I won't be able to work on it. But I haven't been doing much on this, but I do have it all painted in the olive drab. I'm not quite done painting down here. I got this color. It's called, I think it's called Night Attack or something. That's the name of it. Well, it was in Home Depot, and it's a good brand of paint. So yeah, I did do some stuff, but I haven't been going as much as I wanted to on this. I thought it'd be much further along, but I am doing things. I have picked up the plywood to make the cheeks, and I also picked up the threaded rod, which is down there, to make the bolts that go through the cheeks, like on here, these things. If I'll take this out, I'll show you what the hell I'm talking about. It's like you're saying, what the hell's this guy talking about? Yeah, I also made, this is where the barrel trunnion sits. Like I have to weld the other part to this. Those came out okay. They're the exact right size. They're precision cut. I'm surprised I did that by hand with the cutoff wheel. Came out fine. This sits up in here. The barrel trunnion sits there. Those threaded rods go through where those lines are. The white circles are where the bolts go through. With these, they're called rondelles. They look like big giant fender washers that make the space between this to adjust the width of the cannon, depending on what the cannon is. And there's where this black is over here. That's like steel. It goes up this way, and I have to weld it to that piece I did from the pipe. And this goes around, and there's an axle band that goes around this, because that hooks onto the axle down there. So I'm not doing this. I'm like, should I do this, finish this, try to finish this, and then go to this? Or should I try to do this, and then try to do that? I don't like starting too many things at once. That's when you get messed up. This car will get fixed. I've had it since 1991. I mean, I never replaced the engine in this car. As a matter of fact, I didn't really do crap to the engine. This car, since 1991, as far as the engine work, like say up to about a couple years ago, the only thing I changed on it was a carburetor, an alternator, and some belts and hoses. That's it. And then recently I changed, the water pump, the fuel pump. I replaced this manifold, put the starter motor in it, the cam, the Edelbrock manifold, the new Holley carburetor, K&N air filter, the water pump. I think I said that. Timing gear and chain. And I guess, before I changed, I changed the wires. I used to change the wires and the plug sometimes, but I really never did crap to this motor. I did change the transmission before and the clutch 20-something years ago, and I just put a new clutch in it again here about less than a year ago. And I also did, about 20 years ago, I put new axles in it, and new ring and pinion gear and gears and a posi. The posi part was used. I did that, but the rest of that stuff in the back was all new. And it's not. That stuff is still virtually new, even though it's like 20 years ago. It's never been driven that much or driven that hard. I mean, I use this for hauling, but I don't use it for like heavy hauling. It's like in Florida, it's flat. It's like I'm not lugging it up a hill or something. I might have this thing filled up with 800 pounds of concrete or something, but still that's nothing for driving on a flats for 5 miles or something. So it never really. Transmission looks good on the inside. I'd like to be able, if I can actually, my thought is, hopefully, if I can spec out where I change the main bearings with the engine and crank installed, there's a way you can roll them in there supposedly, and change the rod bearings and change that rear main seal. And if everything specs out where it's like no more than 3 thousandths gap or something, or it's 2 thousandths or whatever, and I break it in nice and easy, stupid thing might hold up for more years without even spending that much money. That might be a $200 fix. So I'm hoping to do that. But if it's a $200 fix, I want to make sure it's good. So this is going to take some time. I'm going to have to double check everything, triple check everything, and all that other crap. I prefer it to be that way, but I also realize if you're trying to do a quick fix and that isn't going to work long term, it's only going to last you 6 months or a few thousand miles, that ain't the way to go. Might as well just do it right. But we shall see. And my thoughts are, I read there were problems with jegs, crate motors. I read problems with Summit crate. I read problems with Mr. Good Wrench crate motors, Summit, all of them. All of them you can get jinxed on. I might just go with this one from Rock Auto. If I get that one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the oil pan. I'm not going to take off the rod bearing caps or main bearings, but I'm going to put a torque wrench on them. Say, for instance, like the main bearings are supposed to be 70 foot-pounds or 65 foot-pounds. I'll put a torque wrench on them to see if they're like at least down to 50. Make sure nobody didn't freaking miss one of the bolts. And do the same thing with the rod bearings. I think they're around 50 to 55. So if you put a torque wrench on them, you put them like just over 40 foot-pounds, you realize, just to make sure that they tightened everything, because, I want to give it that absurdity check. And also the head bolts, I want to check those. Just, a real rough check. Make sure nothing was screwed up, blatantly screwed up. Hopefully they got everything in spec. And, then I'll put it in and see, hopefully it'll last. Because theoretically, if they rebuild the motor the correct way, and if I'm maintaining it from new, the thing should easily last 200,000 miles. Easy. So, because I got well over 200,000 miles on this little Suzuki thing here, and I got this almost new with real low mileage, and I don't know what it's got, 230, 240,000. When I change the oil at 3,000 miles, the oil is absolutely full. Doesn't burn any oil. Runs fine. The Chevy, this thing does run good. Now it's just that, we'll see. But my plan of action is, I don't want to start too many projects at once. So tonight I'm going to try to finish up that trailer. I got to just hook up the wires and do a couple ground wires and stuff. Not much. And tomorrow I really can't get on nothing. Then Wednesday I'll finish up the wiring on that thing, and then hook the trailer to it, make sure all the lights work. Hook it to this and make sure it works with this, because I think it will. I'll find out if it should work on a Suzuki, because I got an electronic flasher in there that's designed to compensate for LED lights, plasma lights. I'm going to see if it works with this too, because this has the incandescent lights, and if the flasher with the LED lights on a trailer might cause the flasher to go real fast. I'll find out. It might be okay. But even in so, you know what? I think I did change the flasher on this stupid thing too. This thing. I think I did change the flasher to the, yeah, I did. So it should be okay for this one too, because I put the plasma tail lights on this thing. Actually, this car's got a lot of, I never did nothing to the engine really, but this car does have a lot of work on it done. I did like the upper control arm, lower control arm, bushings and stuff. They were a pain. Every single part in the front end a long time ago, every single part, brake part. A lot of stuff behind the console with gauges and stuff. This car actually has had a lot of work done to it. And I just put a battery in it. You notice I painted these orange. So it's Group 27 battery. It's a monster. It's Walmart, but it's their Walmart best one. Actually, Walmart makes, they don't make their own. They're still all made by Johnson Industries, I think. So I got it this month. It says 12/19, but I got it in 2020 January. It's guaranteed 5 years, 3-year free replacement. So, right? There's my little girl here, Feather. Every time I open up the hood, she wants to know what's in there. You a mechanic? So, the plan of action is actually this. I got to make sure I don't start too many things at once. That's how you get screwed up. But sometimes I figured, sometimes when you take your time, you think of something that's a smarter method before you actually jump into it. So if anybody's got any, I know I can also order an entire new crankshaft for this thing for, I don't know, with the exchange it might be $125 or something like that. Plus you got about a seal for a few dollars, maybe $130. But then I have to take the entire engine out of the car, put it up on a stand, which I have an engine stand, and I don't know. I mean, if I'm going to do that, then what about the cam bearings? What about the pistons and the wrist pins and what, you know? What about? Right? I don't know if I want to go through that much work. I don't think I want to do that. I mean, that would really fix the crankshaft, but crap. I just hope I'm hoping to get a. But then there's other options too. As I was holding off on, is somebody might have something around here. You know, I was talking about $1,600 something bucks. Somebody might have a 350 around here for like $800. That's in really good shape. But I got to get one that has the fuel pump. And I mean, there's a few 350s out there. Like 86 was the last year for the mechanical fuel pump, where you had that thing on there like that. The other ones are all blocked off, and the hole that goes in there to where the rod goes isn't the right size or something. But there's a few of them that have the roller cam that actually have that where you can put the fuel pump in there, the mechanical fuel pump. They're not really just 87 and above. It's supposed to be all non-mechanical fuel pumps, electronic fuel butt injection and stuff. They both these people came in here, but there's a few of them out there. Not many. It was kind of like a mistake, I guess, or maybe it was leftover blocks they had from an older, from 86s that they were putting 87s with the roller cams. I don't know what they did, man. I have no idea. It's a different block actually, something different about it, I think. But there's a few of them out there that actually have the mechanical fuel pump feature with the roller cam. I would like that if I can find it, but that's why I'm kind of holding off on this. I might find somebody that's got a good engine around here for half the price of a remanufactured that is so good that it's basically new. So that would be my ideal plan of action, because I just pick it up, pay cash or something, and you know, cheaper that way, right? Then I could pick it up with my little trailer I fixed, because my little 4x4 would hold that engine over here no problem. So and that's a plan of action. I don't know, I'm kind of rolling around what could do, but I realize sometimes I don't need to fix this right away. I got other cars, so just want to make sure I plan it out right and do the best way for the least amount of money. Right? Here's my Snooky girl here. Little feather. Right, little girlie? I remember when she had them 3 kittens. The 3 kittens were right under here. They were under here. I had the hood open, and I had like a block of wood so I wouldn't close it. And this little guy was in there with Dixie, and Paws was in there. All 3 of them were in there. They used to sleep under this thing, in this thing under the hood. When I had it parked over there. Right? That was back about 1.5 years ago, when you were the big mommy, and you're feeding them with your little mommy boobies, right? You're a good mommy, you know that? Shit. Anyway, over and out. Look at her.